Super Mario and the Grand Star is a very curious ROM hack of Mario 64. It's a remarkably narrative-heavy game, which you don't see very often. Looking at the footage right now, you might think this hack looks a little quaint in comparison to the other stuff we've looked at so far. But is that really a bad thing? Not at all, boy! Mario 64 is always fun just by its very nature, and most of the levels in this hack offer engaging challenges and enough room to maneuver around as the man himself. But at the same time, I think the core focus of this game is on the story, which I'm going to discuss shortly, so don't you worry about that. But first, let's talk about the presentation. The visuals of Grand Star are okay for the most part, but it's pretty clear to me that they aren't really the focal point of the game. Most of the textures and assets are the same as they are in the base game, with a couple new assets here and there to add to the world building. What I will say, however, is that these coins are the absolute best coins I have ever seen in a Mario 64 hack. I mean, just look at how detailed that is. Are you seeing this? It's absolutely bonkers. It's so shiny and rounded. I feel like this would cause the actual N64 to catch fire, but maybe with Kaze's new engine fixes it might work, but I don't know. But then you have the level designs. The levels have a bit of a flat orientation to them, with long stretches of nothing separating the actual important parts of the world. The amount of empty, unused space can make for a game that feels a little bit sparse and thin and stretched, while often not feeling particularly fleshed out and lived in. I am a little hesitant to say this because it feels kinda mean, but the level design is kinda like the Mario 64 equivalent of brutalist architecture, largely functional. The game has a great selection of music, however. Right from the beginning, it's very clear that the creator has a love of Twilight Princess, which is very understandable. I like that game too. Easily the single most impressive thing about this ROM hack is the story. It tells the tale of an all-powerful Grand Star and how it destroyed a civilization called the Lunarians, who I think lived on the moon. It's an immensely powerful object that corrupts all who use it, and naturally, it caused a cataclysmic event. The leader of the civilization, Khonsu, attempted to use the Grand Star in order to solve a moon-wide energy crisis that was ongoing at the time, but the power turned him into an insane person, and he subsequently proceeded to destroy his entire civilization, including his wife, Lunaria, who he otherwise loved more than anything in the world. At some point between those events and the game, Khonsu used the power of the Grand Star to bring Bowser under his control, which leads up to the events of the game, where Bowser, who is now a puppet, is charging this doomsday laser because Khonsu believed that the Earth had attacked the moon, when in reality, it was him, but he blacked out in a fit of rage and didn't process it. So he's out for revenge. This is nuts. This is beyond impressive, and much more extensive and deep than the lore you would usually expect of a ROM hack of a game that already had next to zero story. It's remarkably emotional and dramatic, which can be a very difficult thing to pull off in a game like this, and that alone gets an A+. Now, like I said before, the levels in this ROM hack aren't exactly the best levels in ROM hack history, but I don't think any of them are particularly horrible either. You got this mushroom level, which is pretty sweet, the Womp Fortress, the lava world with all the big houses, and this ice level with the big diamond floating in the middle. Probably my favorite level in this entire hack is this small abandoned town. It's so creepy and off-putting. It looks like it should be bustling and busy, but there's nobody there. So it's like Hamilton is what I'm saying. You have that song from Twilight Princess's Goron Mines mixed in with the terrifying Big Boo's Haunt sound fonts. Then you talk to this Bob-omb and he tells you that all of his friends went missing and he can hear weird sounds coming from the depths below the city. And then you finally make your way under the city and you find his friends, who are now under the enchantment of a sprite of King Dedede from that Kirby cartoon that I still haven't watched any of. They built an entire religion around him. That's pretty wild. I wonder if it's tax exempt. In terms of stability, the game is largely consistent in its own laws and functionality. Well, except for Koopa the Quick. I tried racing this dude like 3 times and every time he would just immediately jump off the cliff and presumably kill himself in the process. Wow, he gave up before the race even started. That's pretty sad. The difficulty of this hack is probably one of the most interesting things. If I were forced to describe the difficulty using only one word, I would probably say bipolar. This is generally considered to be a casual hack, and I can see why. 95% of the challenges in this game are largely trivial. It's on the border of easy and baby food, which isn't necessarily a bad thing per se. At the end of the day, it's just a thing. The challenges that the majority of the game presents to you are pretty basic, and if you've been playing Mario 64 for a while, you're not going to have a lot of issues. I think one of my favorite missions in the entire game is this one, where there's a star on top of a pyramid. You cannot reach the top by any normal means, but what you're supposed to do is catch fire and then exploit Mario's running animation to force your way up there. This is one of the more funny and creative ideas for a star that I've seen in a while. But it's that other 5% that really gets me. At certain intervals, the game will be easy as cake, and then the next second it'll be the biggest fucking asshole game you have ever played in your life. You got these secret coins that are hanging off a ledge. Oh, you thought you could just pick them up by hanging off the ledge yourself? Nuh-uh, you gotta perform an incredibly specific jump away from the wall, and then immediately steer yourself right back to the wall just to barely grab the coin and grab the ledge, and if you fuck it up, you're getting insta-killed. One thing in particular that bothered me probably more than it should have is this insta-death quicksand on the second hub world. Why is this here? It just puts me back over here when I die. I don't even have limited lives. Well, I mean, I feel like I should be mad about that, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's kinda just funny. Super Mario and the Grand Star is a funky ROM hack. It's got a beautiful story and premise, almost worthy of something like Paper Mario or the old Mario RPGs. It's got nice music and solid writing, and difficulty that's largely trivial one moment and will blindside you with something crazy the next. Do I recommend this hack? Yeah. I did enjoy it, all things considered, and I imagine you will too. But otherwise, that's gonna be it for today's present. Tune in tomorrow where we unwrap the next one. Can you guess what it is? I'm not giving it away, but it's very, helical, which is a hint that will either tell you exactly what we're talking about or confuse you even more. Merry Christmas, cousins.